A month-long barrage of record-setting hurricanes cut a path of destruction from the Caribbean to the U.S.
And today at noon, coming up in literally, 4 minutes or so, we'll have a special one-hour live episode of Weather Geeks, a world-class panel of experts who will give you an inside look at this unnatural season as only they can.
It's really heartbreaking.
They need help. Nothing better for us to come down and help our neighbors. You know, all in all, we're all Americans here.
The devastation is overwhelming.
It's an extraordinarily serious situation in the Keys.
All right, coming up in about 4 minutes right here on the Weather Channel, an hour-long live episode of Weather Geeks. When Weather Geeks ends, it's time for some football. We got some 1 o'clock games going on, and we'll start off with the Bagel Bowl because they got the 0-3 Bengals versus the 0-3 Browns. They have bagels in terms of their wins.
The zero. Okay, took me a minute. I still have breakfast on the brain. Temperatures are going to be awesome. Finally feeling like football weather, right? Into the upper 60s during the game.
Another game we're watching in terms of pleasant fall weather is here in Carson, California. It's hard to say the L.A. Chargers.
It's a new thing, yeah.
But you know what? If they're in San Diego, maybe they wouldn't have a bagel as well. Ooh, yeah, I said it. I said it.
Ooh.
Temperatures again with lots of sunshine in the lower 70s. A little breezy from time to time during the game.
Send him the hate mail, by the way, not me. Baltimore Ravens taking on the Steelers today at 1 o'clock, and this looks pleasant as well. Lots of sunshine. Bring the sunglasses if you're going to be going, or tailgating ahead of time. Yeah,
great weather here across the Mid-Atlantic, and we're heading on towards Tampa. Could see some scattered showers and thunderstorms this afternoon as the Bagel and 3 Giants head into Tampa and Raymond James here.
Here, isn't it? A lot of
early
teams
season, only 2
struggling.
undefeated teams: the Falcons and the Kansas City Chiefs. That's it.
Are you sure? You
one
seem reluctant
NFC,
on
one
that
AFC.
second one.
That's
Okay. We've got the Broncos, which are going to be taking on the Raiders today. That's at 2:25 Mountain Time.
Windy.
Quite a bit of cloud cover, but yeah, that wind could be a player. It'll be interesting to see.
Could be an impact on the passing game and the kicking game as well. And then we head towards Glendale, Arizona. Hot outside. Hopefully they have the dome closed, but the Niners take on the Cardinals.
A live episode of Weather Geeks is next.
Currently in our area, 71 degrees under cloudy skies. Today, cloudy early with some sunshine this afternoon. High 80, winds south-southeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Tonight, clear to partly cloudy, low 67. Winds south-southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Monday, partly cloudy and windy, high 86. Winds south at 20 to 30 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
It's really heartbreaking.
They need help. Nothing better for us to come down and help our neighbors. You know, all in all, we're all Americans here.
The devastation is overwhelming.
It's an extraordinarily serious situation in the Keys.
And welcome to Weather Geeks. I'm Dr. Marshall Shepard from the University of Georgia, and we have a special 1-hour live edition of the show today. 2017 has been a record season, and we had to bring in an expert, a panel of experts here. I've got Dr. Ryan Maui from weather.us, Dr. Greg Postel from the Weather Channel, and Dr. Rick Knabb, also from the Weather Channel. And a bit later on, we're going to also have Dr. Kim Cobb from Georgia Tech. We're going to get into the discussion, but first I want to pass it over to Chris Warren.
And Dr. Shepard, really to show why we're here and what we're talking about, this remarkable extremely unfortunate season we are enduring right now. The 2017 Atlantic hurricane season. This is how it started, getting into the early midsummer months and then really hitting that peak there, August into September. Absolutely amazing. These are all of the named storms in the Atlantic Basin, the Caribbean, the Gulf. And we often say it just takes one to be a nightmare. This year so far, 3. Hurricane Harvey, a big one. And rainfall, really the calling card with this. People still recovering. It made landfall late August as a Category 4 hurricane, the strongest hurricane to hit Texas since Carla in the 60s, 1961. And it was feet of rain, not inches, more than 5 feet for Harvey. And then comes in early September, Irma. And we watched Irma go through the Caribbean and eventually into Florida. Strongest hurricane record to hit on record to hit the Lesser Antilles, 37 hours. 37 hours with winds at 185 miles per hour or stronger. That is a world record. 2 U.S. landfalls in the Keys and Marco Island, both in Florida, and 8 million customers, more than 8 million, losing power. And then Hurricane Maria, a monster of a storm with devastating impacts in the Caribbean, including Puerto Rico. Category 5 hurricane at landfall on the island of Dominica. Landfall in Puerto Rico, 155-mile-an-hour Category 4 hurricane. Power outages for the entire island, and this is still an ongoing humanitarian crisis. So with this, 3 massive storms, an active season, we're back here to get some expert analysis. And Dr. Shepard, when you look at this, what stands out? What's going to stand out in your mind with this?
What's going to stand out for me, Chris, is that just this year, we're probably going to retire 3 storm names. We know that when a storm reaches a certain category or reaches a certain impact level, the name gets retired. That typically, we don't see that happening over the span of years or decades in some cases, and now we've seen it in the span of 3 weeks. That's amazing.
Hey, Dr. Malley.
Yeah, we had a great new tool this year called GOES 16 satellite, and we were able to watch in real time with minute-by-minute updates the evolution of these systems as they rapidly intensified. And how many times we all said on social media or on Twitter, Facebook, holy cow, wow, this is an amazing storm. And we saw 3 of them that outdid each other in intensity.
Dr. Malley, you know, research, forecasting, you see these coming. Is there anything in your mind that you watched play out that surprised you this season?
I think the surprise was that all the forecasts which showed the extreme rapid intensification, all of them panned out in the worst possible way. We saw that there was the potential for worst case scenarios, absolute disasters, and unfortunately many of them came to fruition. It was a situation that you know, we hope for near misses, we hope for the storms to veer out to sea. And in this case, we had 3 major hurricanes that had no other place to go except over land, and that is absolutely tragic.
And Dr. Postel, what are your thoughts?
Well, we actually had a Cape Verde hurricane season this year, first one in seemingly many years, where we had these storms really thrive over the tropical Atlantic and move into the Caribbean. And one of the things that stuck out to me was the fact that we actually had an atmospheric pattern over the region that was really favorable for that. We didn't have the characteristic deep troughs coming into the region. We had a reduction in wind shear associated with ridging aloft in that part of the world, especially during the month of September. And that, I think, allowed these things to sort of maximize their potential in some way, which is something we haven't seen a lot of in recent years.
And Dr. Dabb, last year, you were the director of the National Hurricane Center. What was it like to watch this season unfold? And it's still unfolding.
Well, what I will take away from this year is not just the strength of the hurricanes and not just the wind damage that we saw, but once again, how much water played a big role in these disasters, in part because of, in addition to the strength of the systems, their size, and in the case of Harvey, its forward speed or lack thereof. So there are so many characteristics of these storms that made them disasters, and it wasn't just about the category in the wind.
And Chris, I want to jump in a little bit and follow up on Rick there, because one of the things that really surprised me is that the model sniffed out feet of water and rainfall from Harvey. That was unbelievable.
But Dr. Postel, it was more than water too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Rick is exactly right. I mean, we have to deal with the water potential and the water risk that comes with landfalling tropical cyclones, but also when you're dealing with these Cat 4s and Cat 5s, I mean, what really destroyed Puerto Rico was the wind. And that sort of familiar phrase, you can hide from the wind, sometimes you can't when they are this intense. And this is one of the unfortunate byproducts of this hurricane
And that's
season.
what makes this season so bad. It wasn't just that they were Cat 4s and 5s, and it wasn't just that you had the terrible wind disaster, but you still had the water causing major problems. And I'm mostly thinking of Harvey and also Irma, with its tentacles spread out over a large area, causing storm surge and rainfall issues, even if you didn't get the core of the hurricane.
And impact is important because remember, the flooding from Harvey was mostly as a tropical storm. So I like to de-emphasize sometimes tropical storms can be just as impactful.
Yeah, the stalling of the system was the key, and we all knew that it was going to stall either very close to shore or right on land, taking this meandering, looping track. So the 40 inches of rain that was on average over Houston came out of the sky. It wasn't pushed on shore. And the infrastructure of Houston is designed to evacuate that water out to the sea. So when you have it coming out of the sky as opposed to the ocean, it's a totally different problem. And of course, it's over a highly populated region. I mean, this wasn't the middle of nowhere. It was the most densely populated part of Texas.
Yeah, and when Dr. Postel and I were on the air, you too, Chris, we were talking before Harvey's landfall about the wind and the storm surge and the rainfall, all of it. And that's what really has made this year so bad, is that every hazard that hurricanes and tropical storms bring to bear have reared their ugly heads in the worst possible way.
And we saw this season coming, didn't we?
In terms of the busyness, well, yeah, we say every year there's a difference between how busy and how bad. We knew this year was going to be busy, and it has been busy, but it has also been extremely bad for so many people domestically and internationally.
And it has been so bad with the flooding and the wind, and oftentimes with tragedies like this and devastation, we see the good through the devastation. We're going to have the story of one man who was an unlikely hero. That's coming up on the special edition of Weather Geeks.
In 10 feet, imagine yourself as the boss. Recalculating. In no time at all, realize you don't have to be the CEO to enjoy the amenities of the VIP suite. Your all-new Compass.
Well-qualified current lessees of competitive vehicles can lease the all-new 2017 Jeep Compass Latitude 4x2 for $176 a month.
With thousands of quality pre-owned vehicles and exceptional customer service, head to your neighborhood Enterprise car sales and let the people who buy more vehicles than anyone flip your thinking about buying your next one.
Remember me.
Just to refresh, we question suspects, we don't kill them.
Okay.
Lucifer's season premiere tomorrow on Fox.
What makes the new DiGiorno Crispy Pan Pizza different than delivery?
Pan, 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 pan.
Pan, pan. You bake it fresh in its own pan, giving our new DiGiorno pizza a crispy, caramelized crust. It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
This piece is so you. I saw it and I was just like, oh, I have to have it.
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments, there's one of these.
This piece is so you. I saw it and I was like, have to have it.
From renter's insurance to rewards credit cards, State Farm is here to help life go right.
These are real-life survival stories that happen to real people, and there are real teaching moments in these stories.
Weather Channel survival expert Creek Stewart hosts SOS: How to Survive, tonight at 8, only on the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 73 degrees under mostly cloudy skies with windy conditions. Today, cloudy early with some sunshine this afternoon. High 80. Winds south-southeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Tonight, clear to partly cloudy. Low 67. Winds south-southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Monday, partly cloudy and windy. High 86. Winds south at 20 to 30 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
if you love the window seat. Start your day opening the window to your weather with AMHQ. Mornings on the Weather Channel.
I sold my dream house to buy my first Domino's store.
I built my store with my bare hands.
I used my college savings to buy my store. It means everything to me.
But we've decided to tear them down.
We love what we do, but not where we do it. Come and see our remodeled stores when you carry out large 3-topping pizzas for $7.99 each every day.
It came so fast, I didn't know what else to expect. So I'm just happy I'm here right now.
There's water in all the beds in the house. We've lost every strip of furniture, every couch, everything.
Wow, I mean, this was just an amazing storm, and the sheer magnitude of the population impacted really amplified this disaster.
And during the recovery efforts and the responding efforts, we saw a lot of people who aren't professionals got in there and really helped out and became heroes. But one man wasn't on the front lines and didn't have a boat full of evacuees, but he was one of the unexpected heroes of Hurricane Harvey. Hurricane specialist Dr. Erica Navarro had a chance to sit down and speak with him.
Thanks so much, Chris. Well, for those watching from Houston, you might recognize our next guest, Jeff Linder, the meteorologist for the Harris County Flood Control District. Now, Jeff was credited with being the voice of reason during Hurricane Harvey by providing a constant stream of life-saving information during this incredible flooding event. Jeff, thanks so much for joining us. We know it must have been a very busy couple of weeks for you, both during the event and now during the recovery. How have you been faring since the flooding events of Harvey?
Well, Harvey was certainly something that was unprecedented for not only Harris County and the city of Houston and Texas, but the entire nation. The magnitude of rainfall that we saw over such a large area. And so the recovery here is going to take a long time, anywhere from 100,000 upwards to 140,000 structures flooded just in Harris County alone. And so the process of getting them put back together is going to be months.
And the recovery process really just takes so much time. Now, Jeff, when I believe you also worked during Tropical Storm Allison, what was different about this system that really caught your eye?
Yeah, the big difference between Tropical Storm Allison in 2001, which also devastated this area, and Hurricane Harvey is the size and the scope of the rainfall and flooding. Allison's rainfall was in the northeast part of the county. Harvey's rainfall, the 20-inch rainfall area, extends all the way from Victoria through Houston to Beaumont, Port Arthur, all the way into Louisiana. And then within that, we had several areas over 40 inches, and even some cases in Beaumont, Port Arthur area upwards of 60 inches.
It was said that you were the voice of reason, if you will, during this event. You were on air constantly. Why do you think that that really happened, that people really became to respect you so much during this type of event?
You know, I guess during the event, I didn't realize that what I was saying was resonating as much as it was with people. I went out and did the press briefings and did the interviews, and I relayed the information that I felt if I were sitting on the other end of the TV, this is what I would want to hear. And it really boils down to, is the water rising or falling? And is my house going to flood?
Flooding in Houston seems to happen pretty frequently, especially over the last couple of years. Do you think these types of events are something that we need to prepare for?
Flooding is our natural disaster. Hurricanes and flooding is the natural disaster here for Southeast Texas and the city of Houston. And we've been dealt the topography we've been dealt. We have a very gentle slope. We have about a foot of grade per about a mile away from the Gulf of Mexico and Galveston Bay. And so that's relatively flat. We are above sea level, so that helps us. Everything that falls drains by gravity. But the other thing, and a lot of people maybe don't understand this down here along the Gulf Coast, is we get really incredible rainfalls. It's nothing for us to see 4, 5, 6 inches of rain per hour.
Well, for those of you who don't know, there was a GoFundMe campaign that was set up to get Jeff a well-deserved vacation. But unfortunately, Jeff, you can't accept that money, but you've been able to put that money towards Harvey relief. Did you ever get some time off? Were you at least able to get a few days to recover?
Yeah, I've had a little bit of time off. I think I've had 1 day off since Harvey, which is fine. You know, the GoFundMe was extremely generous for the people of this area to do that. I have got that over into a nonprofit organization, and I've been personally going out and passing out some of that money to the flood victims and posting that on Twitter and Facebook so people actually see where their money's going.
Yeah, Jeff, that's amazing. Thank you so much for what you do, for caring for the people of Houston, and of course for joining us today. Again, we know it's been a really busy couple of weeks, but we really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
And we want to thank all first responders, emergency managers, and anyone that was giving their lives to help others. It's, on behalf of the Weather Channel, we just want to thank everyone like Jeff and others.
Indeed. Coming up, sea level rise and the potential impact it had on storm surge. That's just one of the climate connections we'll take a look at with all three of these major hurricanes.
Whether it's new business, new boss, or a new romance, these are the designer moments.
Now at Men's Warehouse, designer suits start at $279, plus buy one, get one free on select items.
You're gonna like the way you look in a designer suit.
You might take something for your heart, your joints, or your digestion. So why wouldn't you take something for the most important part of you, your brain? With an ingredient originally found in jellyfish, Prevagen is now the #1 selling brain health supplement in drugstores nationwide. Prevagen, the name to remember.
Welcome. How's it going?
Hi. Hi.
Okay, so you've got two friends here.
Yes.
This is the J.D. Power Award for dependability. Now, I want you to give it to the friend that you think is most dependable.
Oh!
Wow.
It's just not fair. Does she have to?
She doesn't have to.
Oh, I don't?
No, but it's a tough choice, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, luckily, Chevy makes it a little easier, because it's the only brand to earn J.D. Power Dependability Awards for cars, trucks, and SUVs 2 years in a row.
That's amazing. Chevy's a name you can trust.
These are real-life survival stories that happen to real people, and there are real teaching moments in these stories.
Weather Channel survival expert Creek Stewart hosts SOS, How to Survive, tonight at 8, only on the Weather Channel.
He wants a new home with a perfect backyard. She wants a living room that inspires. She's all about that rooftop. And they want a kitchen to live in. At Guaranteed Rate, we know every new home buyer is different, so we do mortgages differently. Unlike other mortgage companies, our process to find the perfect loan is fast and easy, no matter who you are or what you're looking for. Because the difference of a great mortgage experience can make, well, all the difference.
Experience the Guaranteed Rate difference at Rate.com today. The difference of Guaranteed Rate's digital mortgage, which only takes minutes to get the perfect loan. The difference of the intuitive loan finder that provides you with real-time rates and loan options. And the difference of amazing low rates that could save you thousands of dollars, all with the help of an experienced loan officer. Visit Rate.com or call 1-888-767-1234 today. Guaranteed Rate. Our difference makes all the difference.
These are real-life survival stories that happen to real people.
SOS, How to Survive, tonight at 8, only on the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 73 degrees under mostly cloudy skies with windy conditions. Today, partly cloudy and windy. High 80. Winds south-southeast at 20 to 30 miles per hour. Tonight, a few passing clouds. Monday, partly cloudy and windy. High 86. Winds south at 20 to 30 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Thank you for staying with us for this special presentation of Weather Geeks. Right now I want to introduce you to another member of our panel. Dr. Kim Cobb joins us, a climate scientist and professor of Earth and Atmospheric Sciences at Georgia Tech, and Dr. Marshall Shepard, Dr. Nabber also here as we turn our attention to the role climate change may have had in this, the climate connection with very intense hurricanes. Dr. Shepard, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think we've got to be nuanced about the discussion, but it's a discussion that needs to be had, Chris. I mean, I think people get out there and sort of amplify on both sides of the ledger with the discussion, and we have to be careful. So I'm glad that we have some expertise here and can talk about the things we can and perhaps cannot say. Yeah, Kim, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a package of risks going forward with climate change. It's very, very clear that sea level is rising. The oceans are warming. We know these are confounding factors for how hurricanes play out in risk and our coastal communities being devastated by these factors. So we really have to look at it in context, and not just a single hurricane, but the package of risk that we are looking at in coming decades.
But it's hard not to look at individual storms. So what do you say to people that look at Harvey and look at the flooding and say, hey, that's climate change? What do you say to that?
Well, I say that there's some influence of climate change in each of these storms, and I don't think we can deny that. We can't say it's 100% contribution to a single storm, and we can't say it's zero. Either side of that would be irresponsible. However, we have to admit that there's a role for warming seas in the physics of hurricanes, and it may be some time till we can quantify exactly what that contribution is, but in the meantime, America needs to know that this is a package that we're seeing roll out, not year by year, but every now and again we're going to have a year like this. It's going to really hit us hard and remind us of this package of risks that we're embracing.
And part of climate change is the warming seas, and then Dr. Knabb, a warm ocean is essentially the fuel for hurricanes.
Yeah, and, you know, let's assume for the moment, and we don't know the answer to this question fully, but let's assume for the moment that the numbers and strengths of hurricanes haven't changed up to this point, and they aren't going to change going forward. I'm still worried. Because even if the numbers and strengths of hurricanes don't change, I'm worried about the water impacts getting worse. Right. And this year doesn't make me feel any better about that. Right. For many reasons. The sea level rise giving storm surge more inroads into flooding land areas. And it's not just a one-to-one thing. If sea level rises 6 inches, all the storm surges just rise 6 inches. No, you can get over certain barriers, and now you're going a lot farther inland than you used to. I'm worried about rain rates increasing. I'm worried about there being a more frequent occurrence for storms to stall, or for there to be middle to high level latitude ridges that don't allow things to move along like they used to. Right. And just simply worry that the greater infrastructure that is in harm's way is more vulnerable to all of this anyway.
And let me just say that as climate scientists, we did not miss in class that the climate changes naturally. We know that. We know that there were hurricanes that are happening naturally. Baseball players can hit home runs naturally, but they hit more of them and longer ones with steroids. So it's the physics. I think you hit it on it perfectly, Kim. I mean, what is it about the physics?
Well, so the physics are very clear. As we just talked about the role of warm water, we talk about the atmosphere being able to hold more water under climate change. All of these things are very, very clear. And so when you have the ocean that's feeding a convective event like that, and you're able to dump more water, and you're spinning winds at a larger strength, this is going to all translate into the kind of storms that we had this season. Yeah. And those are the kind of storms that we can peer forward into our future and say, that's what we fear is coming down the pike as climate scientists. And indeed, we have to appreciate the oceans rising is just, again, compounding that risk. So these are all physics that we pretty well understand, I'd say.
What do you think is the one thing it's safe to say and is not safe to say about hurricanes and climate change?
I'd say it's not safe to say that a single event is uniquely attributable to climate change, because we had some historically incredible storms, as we know. That's not responsible, but it's also not responsible to say there's no role for climate change in any given hurricane. That's equally irresponsible. So I'd say both of those are irresponsible positions.
All right, appreciate the insight on that. Much more to come here. Multiple rapid intensifications, hurricanes making landfall as Category 3 or higher. Coming up next, we discuss if it's just perception, or will stronger hurricanes become the norm for seasons to come.
Okay. I never thought I'd say this, but I found bladder leak underwear that's actually pretty. Surprised? It's called Always Discreet Boutique. It looks and fits like my underwear. I know what you're thinking. How can something this pretty protect? Hidden inside is a super absorbent core that quickly turns liquid to gel for incredible protection. So I feel protected and pretty. New Always Discreet Boutique.
Welcome to the outside, You don't need a passport to come here or a membership to belong here. Just step outside and you've arrived. Because on the inside, we're all outsiders. And if it's outside, we're all in. LL Bean, be an outsider.
Introducing Cologuard.
I'm here for an important reason. Colon cancer screening. If you're age 50 or older and at average risk, Cologuard finds cancer and precancer. And it's a non-invasive test you can use at home. In fact, I'm as easy as get, go, gone. How do you get me? Your doctor orders me, and I'm delivered directly to your doorstep. There's no need for time off or special prep because I use the DNA in your stool to find colon cancer. Then you just go. I mean, collect your sample. Then I'm gone. Just ship me to the lab. Gotta go.
Cologuard is intended for individuals at average risk for colon cancer. Cologuard is not for high-risk individuals, including those with a history of colon cancer or polyps, IBD, certain hereditary cancer syndromes, or a family history of colon cancer. Cologuard, colon cancer screening that's as easy as get, go, gone. Ask your doctor if Cologuard is right for you.
When food is good and clean and real, it's okay to crave. And with Panera Catering, there's more to go around. Panera, food as it should be.
People would stare. Psoriasis does that.
It was tough getting out there on stage.
I wanted to be clear. I wanted it to last.
So I kept on fighting.
I found something that worked and keeps on working.
Now, they see me.
See me.
See if Cosentyx could make a difference for you. Cosentyx is proven to help people with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis find clear skin that can last. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting Cosentyx, you should be checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, or if you've received a vaccine or plan to. If you have inflammatory bowel disease, tell your doctor if symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions may occur.
Never give up.
See me.
See me.
Clear skin can last.
Don't hold back. Ask your dermatologist if Cosentyx can help you find clear skin that lasts.
Hi, Ann. So, those financial regulations being talked about, they could affect your accounts. So let's get together and talk and make sure everything's clear. Yeah, that would be
Being proactive. It's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing.
So you planned everything out to be the first one in line for that new superhero movie. Except for the extra hour to drive there. Yeah, seems like you need local now. It's like your local news, but streaming when and where you want it. Now, the next time disaster strikes, you'll be ready to swoop in and save the day. Local now. Stream on.
Currently in our area, 74 degrees under mostly cloudy skies with windy conditions. Today, partly cloudy and windy. High 80. Winds south-southeast at 20 to 30 miles per hour. Tonight, a few passing clouds. Low 66. Winds south-southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Monday, partly cloudy and windy. High 86. Winds south at 20 to 30 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
This is an eye wall. This is truly an eye wall here. And now the intensity of it is right upon us. Now, right here in the heart of Naples, I'm always watching for flying debris. I've seen very little, you know, just bits and pieces here and there. The trees are doing pretty well. Wish I could say the same for myself.
Well, that was meteorologist Mike Bettis in Irma's eye wall as the Category 3 hurricane passed over Naples about a month ago. I want to thank you for staying with us. This is our special presentation of Weather Geeks today. Hurricane 17 and unnatural season. I'm meteorologist Chris Warren, and along with the host of Weather Geeks, Dr. Marshall Shepard, is here in a panel of experts as we discuss the intense 2017 hurricane season so far. And joining us now, hurricane experts Dr. Greg Postel and former head of the National Hurricane Center, Dr. Rick Knabb here. And we also are happy to welcome research meteorologist Dr. Ryan Maui. We're going to continue that discussion in just a moment. But we know that hurricanes that have caused a lot of extreme devastation this season, we have seen that happen over and over again, unfortunately. And a lot of people now wondering why. There's speculation about this, and Kerry Emanuel, a prominent meteorologist and a professor of atmospheric science at MIT, says this: the warming of the climate has increased the underlying probabilities of very heavy rain events like what happened in Harvey and very high category hurricanes like Irma. It is just not sensible to say either storm was caused by climate change, but the underlying probabilities are going up. All right, so now the question is, what does our panel think? We'll start with Dr. Maui. You look at the intensification, not just where they're going, but how strong they're going to be. What are your thoughts going forward on this?
Well, as we warm the climate system, we're sort of increasing the speed limit that these storms can reach in terms of their maximum sustained winds. So thankfully, they're infrequent. We don't have 5 Category 5s every year. So we only have, one every few years. But the opportunity for these storms to reach higher intensities more quickly, with the background conditions being warmer, better environmental conditions, is surely there. And we recognize that. We look at the conditions, the vertical wind shear, the ocean temperatures, and we see that the storm is in an area where the pump is primed, it's just ready to explode. So as the storm reaches a certain level of organization, it reaches a point where it can rapidly develop. And that's obviously a forecasting problem. It's hard to know exactly when that point is reached. But for the 3 storms that we had this year, Harvey, Maria, and Irma, it was like these were sure things. We knew that these were going to rapidly intensify. We didn't know that they would get so hyper intense at Category 4 and 5, but we knew that the conditions were right for it.
Greg or Rick, one of the things that people have asked me is that these storms stayed strong so long. I mean, we have record sort of Cat 4, Cat 5 level of these storms. What is that? Are you thinking that's related to the sea surface temperature, to the depth of the ocean heat content? That's a question I've been getting.
Well, part of it has to do with where they formed, because Harvey was not a major hurricane for very long because it ran out of ocean.
It ran out of water.
Right? And Irma was remarkable in how far east and south it stayed as a major hurricane for so long. That definitely caught my attention. Maria felt like a little bit more like a lot of the major hurricanes we've seen in past years. Yeah. So we had extremes on both ends, a long-lived one, a short-lived one, and kind of one I felt like I've kind of seen before. But when the farther east they form, and the more the conditions are conducive in the ocean and the atmosphere, the more you're going to have a really long-lived major hurricane. And wow, did we see that this year.
The atmospheric conditions over these were ideal. And the good thing is that storms actually never really reach their maximum potential intensity. There's always some internal mechanism that's kind of slowing it down, whether it's not churning up the cooler waters. But apparently, as you were saying, Ryan, that the atmosphere is primed and the speed limit has changed, so these storms don't even have to come close to their maximum intensity for them to get to that Category 5 status.
And Dr. Postel, you said not getting close to their maximum intensity. Is the potential getting greater for a stronger storm?
Yes, it is, and that is in some part related to the changes in the ocean temperatures, right? I mean, if you warm the water by about, say, 1 Celsius or so, all else being equal, you can make some theoretical arguments and say you can get about 10 millibars intensity increase with that, which is also reflected in the wind speed. So that's one part, but there's all kinds of others as well.
Yeah, I feel that the vertical wind shear is probably going to be a major component that we look back on, where there was no shear. So these systems were developing in their, as you say it, their natural habitat. Their most, the easiest way for them to intensify is just to blow up over warm ocean water in a low shear environment, heading westward. And I think I did notice that the storms weren't exactly moving too quickly, that the steering currents were generally weaker than normal. So as the storms did pass through the Bahamas, past Puerto Rico, they generally slowed down. I think we just finally rid ourselves of Maria, and its little friend Lee.
That was stuck in Jose hung out.
Yeah,
and
right.
Jose did 2 loops.
And some of them were fortunately moving over water that had already been cooled by the prior hurricane, so we were in some sense saved by that.
Exactly. But if I could throw out too, I'm also concerned about whether or not the hurricanes are getting wider, larger, and perhaps, as you talked about, Ryan, not moving as fast. I mean, those trends concern me quite a bit. And when you think about the fact that Harvey broke the streak in the U.S. Since Wilma of not having a major hurricane, it's not like we weren't having major impacts, though, because we had those large hurricanes like Ike, like Sandy, that can be just as bad when it comes to the storm surge and the rainfall. If you're large and you're slow moving, when it comes to the water hazards anyway, you can be just as bad as a major hurricane. Then if you are a major hurricane, you add the wind into it. So the size and the forward motion trends, where's that headed? That worries me too.
Dr. Shepard, we would not be sitting here right now and talking about this if these storms didn't hit where people live. Let's talk about the unnatural part of this.
A great part, and I think Roger Pilkey Jr. has written on this. I mean, we've got more people and more property in harm's way, and so we're going to see economic numbers to some degree going up, record-breaking because of that alone. But I did want to mention, Kerry Emanuel also talks about that we may be seeing the poleward shift in the intensification, which brings in cities like Philadelphia, D.C., New York, as we saw with Sandy. And Ryan and I wrote an op-ed on, don't call it superstorm, but we're running out of time in this block, but that's critical. It's the combination of the natural hazard, the sensitivity, and people's ability to bounce back.
That's what we call geographically of that risk.
That is right, exactly. And that's what we call vulnerability.
And if you look at the GFS model sometimes, some of those scenarios are in the long-range forecasts. I mean, the possibilities are always there.
Let's talk about it a little bit more after, because we're running out of time in this.
And we're also going to get into the messaging and humans' role in that, not just with the construction and the rebuilding, but the messaging of these storms. And the ongoing recovery in cities devastated by these hurricanes is just the beginning. Many areas are months and even years away from returning to normal. We discussed the rebuilding process and how the messaging and infrastructure can improve moving forward. Stay with us for the special edition of Weather Geeks.
In 10 feet, imagine yourself as the boss. Recalculating. In no time at all, realize you don't have to be the CEO to enjoy the amenities of the VIP suite. Your all-new Compass.
Well-qualified current lessees of competitive vehicles can lease the all-new 2017 Jeep Compass Latitude 4x2 for $176 a month.
Sometimes we take ourselves a little too seriously. But you can't be serious with Twizzlers.
Currently in our area, 75 degrees under mostly cloudy skies with windy conditions. Today, partly cloudy and windy. High 80. Winds south-southeast at 20 to 30 miles per hour. Tonight, a few passing clouds. Low 66. Winds south-southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Monday, partly cloudy and windy. High 86. Winds south at 20 to 30 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
It's Empire Today's biggest sale, the 50-50-50 sale. 50% off carpet and flooring, 50% off padding and materials, and 50% off installation. That's right, half off your entire project. You can save thousands. Empire's 50-50-50 sale won't last long. Don't miss 50% off carpet and flooring, 50% off padding and materials, and 50% off installation.
800-588-2300 Empire.
Today.
I had so many reasons for not losing weight, for putting it off. Sound familiar? It's time to take control with Nutrisystem.
Introducing new Lean 13 from Nutrisystem. Lose up to 13 pounds and 7 inches overall in your first month. Lose weight fast. Money back guaranteed.
You gain energy, you improve your health, and you lose weight. I'm Marie, and I lost 50 pounds on Nutrisystem.
Order your 28-day plan right now. With Lean 13, you'll get specially designed meals, plus 1 week of new NutriCrush bars to crush cravings free, and 1 week of Turbo Shakes to bust belly bloat free.
Belly fat? Got that under control, too.
Call or go online in the next 2 minutes and we'll even throw in FedEx shipping free. Lose up to 13 pounds and 7 inches overall your first month. Millions of people have lost weight on Nutrisystem.
It's time to take control.
Go online or call 888-315-DIET right now and get new Lean 13 with bars and shakes free.
As hurricane season continues, there is one place to turn to and to trust. Preparing you to stay safe, keeping you ahead of the uncertain. Experts breaking down the science behind each system.
As long as people are dealing with a hurricane, I'm going to be standing right here making sure they stay safe.
Every season, every storm, every time you watch. Trust in the Weather Channel.
Stunned and now homeless, Houston residents forced into the streets carrying the clothes on their back and treasured belongings in their arms as they head to safer ground. Their homes are among thousands flooded by Hurricane Harvey.
Helping Texas overcome this disaster is going to be far greater than FEMA coordinating the mission of the entire federal government. We need citizens to be involved. Texas, this is a landmark event. We have not seen an event like this. You could not draw this forecast up. You could not dream this forecast up.
And we're witnessing historic devastation this hurricane season. In a matter of weeks, 3 Category 4 landfalls in the U.S. and the Caribbean. On the mainland, the loss of life not as great as originally feared. The question is this because of better forecasting or better messaging to get people to evacuate? Dr. Shepard?
Yeah, and I want to just say we've got victims there in Texas, in Florida. The Keys are still recovering. Puerto Rico and others. These are just people that need our help. So Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, we really have to keep these people in mind. This is an ongoing recovery effort, and it's only going to get worse. And Kim, you were talking about the possibility of even climate refugees.
Yeah, I mean, it's unclear whether some of these places will be able to be habitable in the long sense. So we keep getting storms coming down the pike like this. It'll take years and years and years to recover in some of the worst hit areas in the Caribbean. So something to keep in mind for those communities.
Yeah.
Hey, Dr. Knapp, messaging is a huge deal coming from the National Hurricane Center.
Yeah, as you can imagine, it's been pretty heartbreaking for a lot of us to have visited a lot of these countries and the areas that were impacted on the awareness tours and in the hurricane off seasons, as we talked about for years, how these places could be impacted and to see what they're going through. And we've talked over and over again leading into a hurricane season. You need to prepare, we all need to prepare, not just for the storm itself, but for the potentially nasty and lengthy aftermath. And we need to do that on an individual basis, but as we are seeing, we need to do that on a country-by-country basis, an island-by-island basis, one metro area to the next. And we are going to really see a difficult recovery in many places, and we're going to have to learn a lot as we go through these unprecedented kinds of events where it's months to years. I mean, just think after Andrew, South Florida, some of those neighborhoods never really were ever the same. After Katrina in New Orleans, areas there have never really been the same. And that's going to be the case in some of these domestic and international locations. We're really going to have to learn some lessons about how to respond and recover in island environments where you can't just truck everything in.
And Chris, I want to say, we were talking before we came on the show about the cone and some of the messaging issues, because I still heard whispers of, we didn't know Harvey was coming, or we didn't know it was going to be this bad. Or, oh my gosh, it didn't go to the east coast of Florida, it went to the west coast, both of which were still in the cone.
Yeah, and we could roll the tape, Chris, and show us on the Weather Channel over and over again before Irma got to the Florida Peninsula that, the cone occupies a width wider than the peninsula of Florida, and it could go up the east coast, it could go up the west coast of Florida, it could go up the peninsula, it could go just offshore on either side, and we still had that conversation out there that, oh, we didn't think it was coming to the west coast. In fact, there was a time when people thought it would miss Florida to the east. Right. And we still have to work on focusing on where the hazards could occur and not focusing on the exact forecast. But I think overall, in terms of the emergency managers and decisions that were made. Just look how far in advance the Florida Keys were evacuated.
Yes.
How far in advance decisions were made in the state of Florida. So I think emergency managers did a really good job of taking that forecast into action for the public's benefit.
Yeah, but I have to say, I mean, look at some of the limits of the perfect forecast. You know, Puerto Rico was in Maria's sights for days and days.
Yes.
And even so,
only so much you can do.
Only so much you can do. And so now we're looking at the aftermath of that, and now we're realizing maybe what we could have done before, but you can't do that the day before the storm is going to come.
No, preparing for the...
This has to be a planning that we do mindfully for our neighbors, for the global community that is most vulnerable, of course for our own coastal cities as well, as we saw during Harvey. We really had a pretty good forecast there too, and we're still going to take weeks, if not years, to recover from some of those acute impacts.
Yeah, all of our off-season activities in the hurricane world for years have not just been about the meteorology. I mean, when we did that Hurricane Strong campaign in the off-season, it was about preparing in advance evacuation zone supplies, insurance, everything, not just understanding the forecast.
All right, and with that, we know still a couple months left in the Atlantic hurricane season, and we can now take a look back at the successes and failures we've seen so far. Up next, a look at what has gone right and what has gone wrong from a forecasting point of view.
Okay, folks, let's get the lady of the house back on her feet and help her feel more strength and energy in just 2 weeks.
The complete balanced nutrition of Ensure with 9 grams of protein and 26 vitamins and minerals. Ensure, always be you.
I want the most out of my health and life, so I trust Nature-Made vitamins. Because they were the first to be verified by USP for quality and purity standards, and because I recommend them as a pharmacist.
Nature-Made, the #1 pharmacist-recommended vitamin and supplement brand.
My hygienist told me to try a mouthwash, so I tried Crest. It does so much more than give me fresh breath.
Crest Pro Health Mouthwash provides all of these benefits to help you get better dental checkups. Go Pro with Crest Mouthwash.
Checkup? Nailed it.
Andrew, Rita, Sandy. Meet Chris, Jackie, Joe. Minor damage or major disaster. When you need us most, we're here to help. State Farm. We're a force of nature, too.
I don't take breaks, I'm rebuilding. Blow up on the track, reinventing. It's time to upgrade, see my vision now. Had to build it back with a better one. Had to build it back with a better one. Had to build it back with a better one. Had to build it back, now I'm better.
Come and see our remodeled stores when you carry out large 3-topping pizzas for $7.99 each every day.
It's been building up over decades, storm after storm. And through 35 years of severe weather, it's strengthened into trust. Trust in the Weather Channel. To us, nothing matters more. We take you beyond the maps and apps, diving into the science and stories behind the storm. Every season, every storm, every time you watch. Trust the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 75 degrees under mostly cloudy skies with windy conditions. Today, tonight, a few passing clouds, low 66. Winds south-southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Monday, partly cloudy and here's our 7-day outlook.
The goal of every allergy sufferer is 0 nasal allergy symptoms, and nothing gets you closer than Nasacort. Unlike antihistamines that target one cause of your symptoms, Nasacort stops more, and stopping more gets you closer to 0. Nasacort stops more of what makes you miserable.
People are going wild for Kit Kats.
Give me a break, give me a break. Break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar.
Feel the power of Theraflu Express Max. New power to fight back. Theraflu's powerful new formula to defeat 7 cold and flu symptoms fast. So you can play on. Theraflu Express Max. New power.
I can do more to lower my A1C.
And I can do it with what's already within me.
Because my body can still make its own insulin. And once weekly Trulicity activates my body to release it. Trulicity is not insulin. It comes in a once-weekly, truly easy-to-use pen. It works 24/7, and you don't have to see or handle a needle.
Trulicity is a once-weekly injectable medicine to improve blood sugar in adults with type 2 diabetes when used with diet and exercise. It should not be the first medicine to treat diabetes or for people with type 1 diabetes or diabetic ketoacidosis. Do not take Trulicity if you have a personal or family history of medullary thyroid cancer, if you have multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2, or if you're allergic to Trulicity. Stop Trulicity and call your doctor right away if you have a lump or swelling in your neck, severe stomach pain, or symptoms like itching, rash, or trouble breathing. Serious side effects may include pancreatitis. Taking Trulicity with a sulfonylurea or insulin increases your risk for low blood sugar. Common side effects include nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, decreased appetite, and indigestion. Some side effects can lead to dehydration, which may worsen kidney problems.
I choose once-weekly Trulicity to activate my within.
If you need help lowering your A1C and blood sugar, activate your within. Ask your doctor about once-weekly Trulicity.
I won this 55-inch TV for less than $30 on DealDash.com.
I got this $1,200 computer for $100.71.
These aren't actors, they're real people who got real savings at DealDash.com, the fair and honest bidding site. At DealDash.com, you can save up to 99%, but hurry, everything must go.
And shipping is always free.
Visit DealDash.com and start bidding today.
The following message is brought to you by Mesobook.com.
People who have been diagnosed with mesothelioma have many questions. How did I get this disease? What are my treatment options? How will this affect my loved ones? You need answers, which is why we offer a free book written by medical professionals who have treated mesothelioma.
Call toll-free at 1-800-300-7112 or go to mesobook.com.
So you planned everything out to be the first one in line for that new superhero movie. Except for the extra hour to drive there. Yeah, seems like you need local now. It's like your local news, but streaming when and where you want it. Now, the next time disaster strikes, you'll be ready to swoop in and save the day. Local now. Stream on.
Well, thank you for joining us today for our special presentation of Weather Geeks Hurricane 17, an unnatural season. I'm meteorologist Chris Warren. Right now, I want to turn it over to the host of Weather Geeks, Dr. Marshall Shepard, and our panel of experts as they discuss the success and failures so far this hurricane season.
Thank you, Chris. Let's put a bow on this by just exploring some of the various topics that have come up in the discussion. So, Rick, I want to come to you first. What do you think some of the things that went right were?
If I could mention two quick things. One is the new National Weather Service Storm Surge Watch and Warning. It was really important to separate out the hazards so that regardless of the category or the timing, we could show where the wind was expected to occur and where the storm surge was expected to occur.
Right.
Also, I would also say that the international forecast coordination between the National Hurricane Center and the meteorological services of the various countries that were impacted, along with the NOAA and Air Force hurricane hunters that collected data and made forecasts and collaborated internationally to prepare everybody, whether you were U.S. or abroad. I think that all went very well.
Kim, any final thoughts from a climate perspective?
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize that we should have been planning 10 years ago for what happened this season. That's very clear. And now we have a wake-up call. We have an opportunity to realize that climate risk is upon us today, and we have a real need to build capacity to address the coming climate threat. Sea levels rising, these powerful storms compounding that. This is really something that many Americans felt on their skin this season, but all of us felt it on our collective conscience. I hope we carry this forward and start planning like we should have done 10 years ago.
Ryan, you're big in social media. What about the social media-rologist component of this and the messaging?
Yeah, that we have so much information out there, and it's critical to find trusted sources. We have the National Weather Service, the National Hurricane Center, did a fantastic job coordinating. And we then have social media, and we have now this new era of fake news, where it's folks taking that information and sometimes not reporting it accurately. They're trying to change it to get viral clicks or become self-promotion in that respect. And I think that's very dangerous, because when you have situations where you're evacuating large populations, you can instoke fear, you can scare them. And on social media, it's an enormously beneficial platform for good. Right. And we need to make sure that we keep it as a platform for valuable information.
Right. And Greg, we can't get out of here about looking forward. We're still in the hurricane season, so what about October?
Right. The problem with October and hurricanes is that development statistically takes place close to home, meaning the United States mainland, even the Caribbean as well. And there are signs that maybe the atmosphere is going to allow potentially more development, not any obvious ones. But really, there's a bump in the middle of October for a reason in the terms of development, because a lot of times you get fronts moving down into the region where you can get development. And they sometimes go hand in hand, maybe ironically, but don't close the door on the hurricane season yet, bottom line.
Which month has Florida historically had more hurricanes?
October.
October. It's not August and September.
And one, maybe 5 words or less. What's something that we need that we don't have that would have helped us this season? Just going to come, Rick, and then come down the line.
I think we need to build back better after these disasters, so we are more able to mitigate and adapt next time they happen.
I'd like to see real-time uncertainty in the hurricane forecast and maybe eventually get rid of the cone. How about that?
I'd agree, definitely. We have great weather forecasts. We need to trust them. We need to extract more value from them.
Kieran?
And I'd say we just need a coordinated plan from the lower communities all the way up to the White House for how to address this proactively going forward.
And I'm going to take this. I'm going to take the opportunity here. We're coming back on 6. I want to talk a little bit about just sort of wrapping this up. We're in an era where our weather forecasts, as you've heard from all our panelists, are quite good. We actually know what's coming, but the challenge is in sort of communicating and messaging. We also have challenges with planning for resiliency. And ultimately, at the end of the day, though we're all interested in the weather, the meteorology, and the climate, these storms are about people. There are people suffering. There are people struggling. And so on behalf of everyone, we want to say that we're with you, and thank you very much to all of our guests for joining us. And don't forget, we are here every Sunday, on Weather Geeks. I wish we were here on Saturdays. And join us next week. We're here on Twitter at WXGeeks, TWC, and on Facebook. See you next week on Weather Geeks.
Dude, you're crunching and scaring the fish.
Dude, they're just jealous.
Kellogg's Raisin Bran Crunch with crunchy clusters and the taste of apples and strawberries.
I got one!
Guess we're having cereal for dinner.
Kellogg's Raisin Bran Crunch Apple Strawberry.
Are you taking the tissue test?
Yep. And my teeth are yellow.
Time for white strips.
Crest Glamorous White Strips are the only ADA-accepted whitening strips proven to be safe and effective, and they whiten 25 times better than a leading whitening toothpaste. Crest, healthy, beautiful smiles for life.
It's been building up over decades, storm after storm. And through 35 years of severe weather, it's strengthened into trust. Trust in the Weather Channel. To us, nothing matters more. We take you beyond the maps and apps, diving into the science and stories behind the storm. Every season, every storm, every time you watch, trust the Weather Channel.
Jordan Spieth and the U.S. team take on Jason Day and the international team. It's the President's Cup. Final round coverage today on NBC.
Currently in our area, 76 degrees under mostly cloudy skies with windy conditions. Today, partly cloudy and windy. High 80. Winds south-southeast at 20 to 30 miles per hour. Tonight, a few passing clouds. Low 66. Winds south-southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Monday, partly cloudy and windy. High 86. Winds south at 20 to 30 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
We have uncovered a remarkable planet, a world of extreme weather, alien landscapes, and bizarre phenomena. It's the most complex system we know of in the universe.